Hi there. Welcome to Kevin Elworth Unplugged. I am Kevin Elworth. I'm excited to hang out with you for a few minutes today. We're going to talk about life, leadership, and all the things in between. It's what my podcast is about. I want to just help you level up leadership. Whether in ministry, whether in business, this podcast really is designed to talk to the heart of a Christian man who wants to seek adventure and the abundant Christian life. I think that there is just this innate promise that God has for each of us. I spent the better part of my career life up to this point as a pastor and have come to know and love um, the Word of God and its power and its implications in my heart and in my life and in the heart and lives of those that are around me. And I think the one profound truth that is so clear to me, aside and outside of salvation, okay, that is just huge, foundational, but it's the fact that God has an abundant life for each of us to experience. And unless you really drill into that, you're going to miss some things. There's going to be this just definitive void in your life. And so my podcast is going to be changing over the coming weeks and months as I grow and develop. I'm going through a podcast coaching class right now to really hone in on what this needs to become and where it needs to go, and who is like my ideal target client that or audience that I want to speak to. And I've known this for a long time, and I don't know why I've kind of held that at arm's length, but it was who I was created to be. And one of the things that I really just kind of sense and see is that I want to speak to my younger self. I want to talk to the person I was 20 years ago who was just trying to feel out and figure out life, wrecked with fear, filled with restraint, and just limited in my thinking and all these things. And I wish I knew then what I know now and what I've experienced now. And so that's what this is going to like tweak and become. And I'll kind of fill you in along the way as I continue to grow and to learn into some of those things. And the message I want to tell you today is it is time for you to stop waiting. I just really felt overwhelmingly that the message I needed to speak to you today is to stop waiting. So many people that I interact with in life, they are waiting for a breakthrough of some sort. They're waiting for something to fall in line before this thing clicks into gear. And, I was talking with my son, Austin, about this just recently. He's running his own business and he's getting really successful. We have seen him grow so much in the last year. It's been just over a year now since he started his own business, and really could not be more proud of him and what he's doing. And he's running a mobile detailing business, and it's really getting excited. He formed an LLC around it, and he's got his own business insurance, and he's ready to buy his own car and and he doesn't want just a car. He wants a mobile detailing van, and the steps that it's going to take to get to this spot for him are very big. For that, for any other average person, buying a car is just buying a car. But when you're 16 years old and you've got to buy your first car, and it's going to be one of the biggest expenses you've ever spent in your life, and mom and dad aren't kind of bailing him out of this. He's making like grown-up adult decisions, and so he's going to figure out how to navigate through a grown-up adult world. And I'm really proud of him for being able to focus this. And you can tell some of the trepidation that he feels in this, but what I'm helping him understand is that, you can wait until all the things are in line, or you can believe the power of your potential and recognize the fact that the tools that you put in your arsenal right now are actually going to give you the ability to be able to get more momentum faster. So, and that speaks to the most valuable resource you have in your life, your time. It's the one resource that you can't save up, you can't hoard. It's what you have. What we all have, the same amount today, and you get to decide how you're going to spend those moments, those precious moments, right? And it's either going to be something that fills you and thrills you, or it's on the other side of that where you just clocking time, right? You're just checking off days. What are we checking off days for? I don't quite know. I love the fact I love the fact that I get to go and I get to be part of the Maxwell conference every year. They have it twice a year. I choose to go every March, and this is my second one I just come back from, and it was just awe-inspiring for me, so filling. I came back just motivated. I had a lot more clarity than I did before. I really hit the ground running. This week has been such a great week for business for me. Now the next few weeks look a little bit empty. I don't have a whole lot of appointments on my calendar, but I've got a lot of momentum, and I've got a lot of connections, and I've got a lot of forward motion going. I can't think that that's not going to that's just going to stop. It's going to stop when I stop working on it, and so I'm not going to stop working on it. But one of the things I've learned, or one of the things that Maxwell said while I was there, I love this, and I'm going to get this wrong, so I can't quote this verbatim, but basically he says this. He says, there are so many people in life waiting for life to start, and essentially they're just dead men walking, right? They're just waiting on someone to make their death official. They've already died a long time ago. Their dream died, their aspiration died, their motivation died, their momentum died. All this stuff died. They're just waiting for someone to be like, all right, I pronounce you dead, and put them in the ground, end their misery of surviving through life. And it kind of pains my heart that we all live in the same abundant world, and some of us are figuring out the abundant nature of life, and then there are people who are just clocking days. And it just bothers me. It bothers me for the fact that there's so much opportunity in our world that you can sink your teeth into, that's going to give you an experience of insatiable faith and just ridiculous experience. And it's just this salient element of, my goodness, I can't believe we got to experience that. And it really predicates on the thing that I've been kind of pounding most into you, my audience, is that your future is dependent on the questions that you're willing to answer. Well, what question should you ask? What questions should you seek to answer or seek to figure out? And the higher the level of the question, the more interesting it's going to become, right? And my goodness, one of the things that I'm wrestling through right now is I put out this Facebook post a little while back, just asked, what pastors are on my page, and I was blown away. Now I answered every comment that came on that page within reason. I think probably 80% of the comments I responded to. At the end of it, in fact, it's still kind of going on right now, but at the end of it, where it started really slowing down, there's 222 comments, I think, on that post. And so more than half of those comments were people saying, I'm here. And so I'd ask them, well, where are you? What church are you a part of? What are you doing? And those kind of things. And some of those went 3 or 4 deep or whatever. But so I can safely assume 50% of those comments were from people who were saying, I'm a pastor. And one of those guys just ended up being a pastor from Uganda. And I see this guy, his name is Sam, and he makes a comment the other day and says that I'm so fearful right now. Just a blanket statement like that. And I was kind of pricked at this. I was like, I wonder what that means. Fear has been the thing that I've been attacking most in my last few weeks. And he says, and so I asked him, I said, what are you afraid of, Sam? What's going on in your world? And he says, my family, my wife, my church, he pastors a church. My church is responsible for 116, I think, orphans that are, Ugandan orphans. And it's our responsibility to make sure that they have food, nutrition, water, I think education even. And he said it costs us $116 a day to be able to feed these kids, $1 a day per kid, right? To feed these kids. And he said, I don't have any more money. And he said, they're going to go to bed hungry tonight, and I don't know what to do. And my heart just kind of broke with that. But at the same time, I was like, what can I do? How can I help with this? And so I've been doing some research to actually figure out like the validity of his story. I want to make sure that it's reputable and right and true. And then I'm going to set to work and see if I can't figure out a help to this, because that's a travesty. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't be a thing in our world. That's with the abundance that we have. There should be a way that we could figure out how do we get this guy some tangible money, some tangible assistance, so that he can go out and buy them food. And and so I got to do some research, some due diligence to ensure that this is what this is. But the message I want to speak to today is to stop waiting. One of the things, we're waiting for a lot of things. First of all, we're waiting for the right opportunity. We're waiting on the thing that, we don't even know. If I asked you today, I love this line, but if we could sit down over a nice strong cup of coffee, Italian espresso maybe, if we could sit down over a nice coffee and talk through what is the right opportunity for you, what I'm finding is that so many people don't know what the right opportunity is. They don't even know what their desire. They don't know what they want. They have no clue. They just know that I want what that guy has, or I want what he's experienced, or I want what they have, or I want what they're doing. And we get really excited about their stories, but you don't realize that you could be making your own stories. You're just not pursuing it. And so we're waiting for almost like a neon sign or a magic moment where God says, hey, this is the thing that you're supposed to step into, and go for it, kid. Like, you've got this. And we watch these opportunities pass by because why? Because we feel overwhelmed by them. We feel like that was too much for me to handle. You know, I've told you before, I don't know if I've said it on here, but I've told you before about our first rental property experience that we had. And I remember walking into this place and thinking, oh my gosh, this is way over my head. I can't do this. I said no. And my, two things. I said I can't do this. And by now, my like strongest motivation is I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Literally, the book I'm writing right now is about that. And I promise I will have a title for you soon. Next week, I'm actually going to brainstorm that this weekend and figure that out. But I can do this. And so I walked out of that house just saying, no, I'm not going to do this. This is too much for me. It's overwhelming me. It's just too much. And I went home and I just could not get that opportunity out of my mind. And so I figured out, how do I say yes to this? How do I get to the spot where I can say yes and I can move into that property and make it my first income producing thing? And I did, and it worked, and it's churning out cash for me right now because I looked at it and I said, it is overwhelming to me. It is going to stretch me. It is going to make me uncomfortable. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to work it out, but I said yes. And now I have that adventure moment and some amazing experiences and a freaking paycheck at the end of the month. And I love that at the beginning of the month, whatever. We are waiting for the right timing and the right opportunity. So maybe those are two. We're waiting for the right timing. And secondly, we're waiting for the right opportunity. The third one is this, that I would submit to you. We're waiting on the quote unquote will of God. And this is where I feel like a lot of people are getting this wrong. One of my favorite statements is this: what God said one time is good enough for a lifetime. I love that statement. What God said one time is good enough for a lifetime. And in his word, he actually unpacked for us some salient truth that we need to be able to use and benchmark for what we decide to do. I'm going to give a couple of them to you right now. Ecclesiastes 9:7-10. So 4 verses here. He said this: go eat your bread with joy and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already approved what you do. Mind blown. God has already approved what you do. Let your garments always be white. Let not oil be lacking on your head. Enjoy life with the wife whom you love and all the days of your vain life that he has given you under the sun, because that is your portion in life, and in your toil in which you toil under the sun. And then I love how he just condenses this all down into like, all right, if that's not clear enough, understand this: whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might. For there is no work or thought or knowledge or wisdom in Sheol to which you are going. But that line, that first line, whatever your hands find to do, do it with strength, with purpose, with confidence, with conviction, with certainty, with adventure, with all of those things. I remember, I believe it was the late great, it's still great, Stephen Furtick preached one time a series of messages called "The Will of God is Whatever." And a little bit of controversy in there, but I do believe it's true. What do you want? What do you want to decide? What does the adventurous moment look like for you right now? It might not look like this forever. And I feel like this is what the Lord came and told me a year and a half, 2 years ago now, when he said to me, hey, Kevin, you've done what I've asked you to do in this pastoral calling. It's time for you to move on. And someday I will tell that whole story. I've never told the whole story. It's kind of coming out in my book, and which is going to be, I don't know when, I don't have a release date yet, but I'm close. I've actually written the whole manuscript now, the whole rough draft, and now I'm starting to go through some of the debrief or the what is it called? Whatever, the editing process that we go through. But I felt like the Lord said, hey, you can move on. It's time for you to move on. And the thing that I moved on to was the next adventure for me. And you can decide that too, whatever that looks like. Let me give you another verse here. Proverbs 16:1. The plans of the heart belong to man, but the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. And then skip down to verse 3, and he says this: commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established. I kind of sense that we're waiting for the Lord to tell us, this is the plan. This is the thing that you're going to step into. This is the thing that you're going to experience success. This is exactly what you need to do. And here's the thing. The reason I feel like we're waiting for that is because we're waiting for God to give us a guarantee that it will be successful, that it will not fail, and that it won't be difficult. I think maybe the fourth one even is that it's not going to be uncomfortable. If you're waiting for comfort, if you're waiting for any of those certainties, the guarantees, they will not come. Stepping into like the amazing plan of God for you is always going to look uncertain. In fact, the abundant provision, the grace, the magnitude of his goodness is only going to come after you faithfully step into the uncertainty of the unknown. And it's in that space that you get a story, an experience that you did not see coming, that's going to take your breath away, that it's going to make you feel like I could have died in that moment. But I'm so glad I did it, because in that place, in that situation, I saw the hand of God in a way that I have never seen before, that I've never experienced before. It was like God and I were hand in hand walking down, doing this thing. To me, that is very call or core of who I want to become. And it's this line here. And I discovered this years and years ago, probably back in 2012 or 13. I felt like the Lord kind of gave me this static line of mission. And I'm looking forward to here. I have it written down. I want to just make sure I get it right. It's to help people experience an amazing God in incredible ways. To help people experience an amazing God in incredible ways. You could also reverse those. It's to help people experience an incredible God in amazing ways. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like for you? How do you experience an incredible God in an amazing way? You stop waiting. You choose something that you've always wanted to do, and you make a commitment, and you start walking in that direction, and you start asking some questions about it. And this guy in Uganda, I immediately was like, mentally, I was like, I'm gonna figure out how to help resolve that. And then secondly, I testified to him right away, and I said, Sam, I'm gonna come visit you. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm coming to Uganda. I've always wanted to go to Africa anyway. Why not now? Why not? Why not with him? Why not Uganda? Whatever. Um, the reality is this, and I've already said this on some level before, but you're actually saying that you're looking for God to foolproof your desire before you do it, and that's not going to happen. So stop worrying. Stop worrying about if the thing you're going to do is right. I have a filter for you, and I want to help break this down for you today. But before we get to that spot, let me give you some commercial content. The core of my work right now is really directed towards helping people with this discovery. I have absolutely loved my work over the years, working alongside of people to help them discover their like God-given desire. There is a desire inside of you. It's a desire that's exclusively for you. It's uniquely for you. It's uniquely for your time, your place, your energy. God made all of us individually, very individualistic. That's why, your fingerprints are yours alone. Your DNA is yours alone. And you know what? Your desire is yours alone. No one can match the desire that you have inside of you. And it's because of this that I really feel like there really should be no competition in our world today. Even though there is, and there always is going to be, God made you for a very specific thing. And it's your opportunity to be able to press in and try so many different things to discover, is this what I love? Is this what I love? In the year that I have spent outside of what I thought was going to be my whole life, outside of ministry, it was hands down easiest decision I've ever made. Why? Because as soon as I felt like the Lord released me from that thing, ministry, it was a no-brainer. I was like, oh, I want to develop people. I want to develop people into leadership. I see this enormous leadership deficiency around us right now. And I'm like, I want to help attack to fix that thing. And I want to do it in a way that is in multiple different levels. One of my biggest heart cries right now is in the heart of a pastor who is confused. And he's so lost. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what to do. He's fearful, he's broken, he's frustrated, he's defeated, but he can't say any of those words. Why? Who would he tell? I'm actually meeting with an organization this coming week to just explore the implications of how could I help resolve that. And honestly, it's a leadership problem. It's a leadership deficiency, but I'm working with people right now to discover this. Men who are in ministry, men who are in business, men who are in leadership, every one of us has an innate desire to fulfill life and to pursue it. But until we give ourselves permission to explore that, we will never know. And life will always feel somewhat empty. You will never more than just survive without exploring this one thing. You owe it to yourself and the God who created you to discover what you're for. I would love to work with you on this. The more and more I coach people, the more I realize this is my true heart and passion. And I've already told you this line. It's really to help people experience an incredible God in an amazing way. And there are ways for you as well. Regardless of your reservation or your restraints, abundant life is possible for you. Perhaps it's time for you to flesh out what that desire and that idea might be. And this is never more true than in the recent few conversations that I've had, or a few clients that have decided to start working with me. I remember this first conversation that happened months back. Most of these things happen over Zoom, and I'm sitting across this computer screen with this man, and he's tearfully articulating to me his desire, and just fearful and frustrated that it's never going to come to fruition. In fact, it was really painful for him to even be able to vocalize it because he thought that it was impossible for him. There was no way. And all he needed was someone to believe. And I want to tell you this, whoever you are, I will believe with you in the thing that you desire. I will believe in it. Now, here's the thing. How do you know what to believe in? And how do you know what to desire? I think there's a couple things that you can filter, okay? And I've already said this on some level. What God said one time is good enough for a lifetime. That's why God doesn't repeat a lot of words. There are some things that are on repeat. How about fear not? Fear not's found in the Bible. I don't even know how many times, but there's enough for every day of the week or every day of the year. Yeah, every day of the year. There's enough fear nots in the Bible. So you should get it in your head. The Lord does not want you to be afraid ever of anything, okay? So that's true. But here's the thing. If your desire, here's how to know if your desire is accurate. Is your desire contrary, or are your plans contrary to his authority? If it goes against what God said in the Word of God, then that's not his desire. And it shouldn't be your desire either, right? The second filter that I would say is this. Are these plans, or is your desire, manipulative in nature? In other words, is it going to benefit you but not them? Is it just controlling? Is it just for your own gain? Because that's not the way that the world works. That's not the way that God set this world in motion. It's to be a mutual benefit to all. So is it manipulative in nature? Because if it is, it's probably not biblical, and therefore it's probably not going to be blessed. I also want you to ask this question: is it really what I want? Is this really what I want? Or is it what I think I want? Is it what I think other people want? Is it what I think other people would want of me? None of those things are true. Is it really what I want? Because if you don't want it, don't do it. I remember seeing so many times people, they get a job and they quit a job, and they get a job and they quit a job, and they get a job and they quit a job. And I remember asking a friend of mine one time this, because he was on that like repeat revolving, lots of different jobs, lots of different entities. And I saw his resume once, and none of these jobs were on his resume. And I asked him about that. I said, why are those things not on your resume? And he was like, why would I put that on my resume? He's like, that's not who I am. I put the core of who I am on my resume. I did this, and this was a huge portion of my life. These other things were just paychecks in the meantime. Who cares about that? That was nothing. These things are who I am. Is it what I want? And then I think the last one it comes down to is it what my family wants? Because your family is involved in this too. Now, they don't get to define it for you and they don't get to declare what it is, but you should value what their opinion would be. You should value what they would have to say. I read this verse just the other day, and I've used it several times in some different coaching conversations. And I want to just give it to you today. I've already given you a lot, and I'll probably figure out a way to just kind of put this into some notes. But I told you Ecclesiastes 9:7-10. I read Proverbs 16:1 and then Proverbs 16:3. And I want to wrap this up with Proverbs 21:5. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance. Man, I love that line. The plans of the diligent lead to abundance. Everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. In other words, he's saying he's expelling or popping the balloon that says there is a pathway to quick wealth, quick riches. No, there's not. The pathway to profitability is paved with consistency. It's you being consistent over and over and over and over and again. It's you sowing into life until the harvest comes. It's you believing in your opportunity and your possibility and the desire and knowing that there will be very, very, very hard work to get to this spot. And it's worth it. It's worth it in the end. This is what I do. This is what I want to work with you on. And perhaps it's time for us to start a conversation around what this needs to be and what it needs to look like and where you want to go with it. I want to believe with you in the desire, in the thing, in the plan that you have. I want to support you in it. And I want to tell you today, it's time to stop waiting. It's time to get to work on this thing. Who cares what the obstacles are in front of you? Let's get to work on it. Listen, I'm here to help. Whatever it takes, whatever it means, whatever it looks like, let's get to work on some movement in your life. Let's stop waiting. Do some amazing things, experience an amazing God in some incredible ways. Don't ever hesitate to let me know how I can help. I look forward to talking with you soon. See ya.